Okay, we are on page 573, and the section is called Using Solver to Solve Complex Problems. I think this is probably one of the trickier parts of the book. If you've had some kind of a business production class, they may have talked about linear programming. We don't really need to understand how linear programming works to be able to use it here, as long as they tell us enough about the problem. So you need to be really careful when you do this. And the reason is because if you turn to page 575, you'll see that there's a bunch of constraints. And it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 constraints. And you have to make sure you type all 12 of them in exactly right. Otherwise, you will not get the correct answer. So we are on the middle of page 575 now, and we want to click on the Solver button on the Data tab. We're still on the Data tab from the last video. And now, if Solver is not on your computer, there's a yellow note on page 574. I'll show you how to do it. Go to your File tab and go to Options. And you want to go to Add-ins here. And then let me see. This is the one that we want. I think you just click on Go here and right. And then you get a list of add-ins that are available. And the one that we want is Solver add-in. It's not turned on by default, so you'll have to go in and do this. I've been in earlier to turn it on, so it's on my computer. After you've got that checkbox turned on, click on OK. And this will appear on the end of your data ribbon. So now we can move forward on page 575. We want to click on the Solver button, and in the Set Objective it says click on the Collapse Dialog Box button, which is this little button right here, and it'll collapse the dialog box. And then what we have to tell it is E16 is right here. That's what they call our target cell. And we're going to try to set that to a particular value. And once we get that selected and E16 appears in the box, now we can turn to the top of page 576. We're going to tap or click on the Expand Dialog button to expand the dialog box, which I just did. Click on the Min button down here. And so that means that we want this value to be a minimum. We want it to be as small as we can possibly make it, given some other constraints. Then we want to tap or click the Collapse dialog box and click on by changing these cells. Okay, and the cells that we want to change are B8 to B9, which is these two right here, and then select C9 and C10, which is these. Whoops, do a control click and select those, and then we want D8 to D10. Okay, and it puts the dollar signs in there to make all this absolute, but if you compare what you have here with the picture on the middle of page 576, you should get exactly the same thing. B8 colon B9, C9 colon C10, and D8 colon D10, and that's exactly what I've got here. And then we want to go back to our dialog box, click on this little button over here on the end, and now we want to click on the Add button over here, and we're going to start adding constraints. Okay, and the first constraint is B8 to B9, so I'm going to drag the mouse over B8 to B9, and it must be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, no negative values are allowed. And then I want to click on add. Okay, and it just added that. And now we're going to do another constraint, and this is going to be B8 to B9 again. And it has to be a whole number. The way you say it has to be a whole number, it has to be an integer. That's what int stands for. And then there's nothing else to put over here. And now we can click on add again. And the third constraint is select C9 to C10, which is these two cells right here. And they must be greater than or equal to, again, our arrow's pointing the wrong way, and greater than or equal to 0. And now we're on the top of page 578. And we want to click on the add button to add that rule. And we do a fourth constraint. It says now go back to page 575 and add all the other constraints that are there. So that is that gray banded area on the top of page 575. And I'm going to click on OK here. I got to click on cancel, I guess, which is kind of misleading. It just closes the dialog box is what it does. And we've already said that I'm looking at the top of page 575 now. The first one there says that B8 to B9 must be greater than or equal to 0. That's my second rule here. The second thing on page 575 says B8 to B9 must be an int, which is this. The third thing says C9 to C10 must be greater or equal to 0. And I need to add the remaining constraints here. I said there were 12 of them, so it looks like we've got 9 to go. So I want to click on add. I'm going to add a new one. And this constraint is the fourth row. So I need to select C9 and C10. And I need to say that they have to be integers. And then click on add. And the next one is D8 to D10, which is these three cells right here. They must be greater than or equal to 0. Type in a 0 here. Click on add, as long as you got more to keep going. And then D8 to D10 again must be integers. Add that. And then E8 right here must be equal to B21. So equal to, and then I want to click on B21. Okay, so I want those two numbers to be the same. And click on add. And then E9, which is the 140 here, must be equal to B22, which is this one. Click on add. Next one is E10, must be equal to B23. Now let's click on B23 down here. Click on add. And then B13, total hours must be less than or equal to B20, which is this. So we can't run the machines more than 12 hours apparently. Click on add. C13, which is the number of hours on machine 2, must also be less than or equal to B20 right here. Click on add. And then what's the last one? D13, which is this number right here, must be less than or equal to B20 again. Make sure you click on, now that's the last one. If I click on OK, you see I should have 12 rules now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've got 12 rules. And now I can go back to where I left off before. And now you know why this is tricky, because if you make one mistake on one of these, it's not going to work. So we are back on page 578. It says when at the third bullet item under number 6. When finished with the final constraint, tap or click the OK button to close the dialog box and display the solver parameters. So we've done that, and this is the solver parameters dialog box. And I want to click on select a solving method down here. And I have no idea what the difference between these is, but they want us to choose simplex LP. And then we want to tap or click the solve button. And it should come up and tell us that it did find a solution to the problem right there. And it satisfied all the constraints. And then it gives us the option of keeping this. And then we want to click on the answer reports list over here. And then we want to click on OK. And where was it that we had a negative 60 before? We had a negative 60 in D, I think right here. And now we've got a 0 there, and it appears that we're meeting all of the constraints. Now let's turn to page 580, and I want to click answer report 1. We just got a new sheet put down here. And that's what we got. We said that we wanted it to generate an answer report for us. And they want to make this the, move it to the right of the production plan. So it's right there. Just click and drag. Double click so that you can edit the name. And I'm going to, they just want to put production plan. Answer report 1 is already there. We want to change the color to red. Is this red? Brown. Red. Accent 5. And save the workbook and zoom out. And that takes us to the end of that section. And we will continue with the 4th video on page 581.